my honor tonight to introduce our student speaker, Matt Diaz. St. Ignatius Loyola inspired his companions to live the mission of the Society of Jesus in a global context, to travel to the frontiers. They would find God in all things, in all places, in different cultures. Almost 500 years later, we strive to continue this mission at Fordham Prep, to educate young men in a new, vibrant, and challenging global context. As a strategic priority for the Prep, our global education program aims to raise student awareness of the world through the exploration of diverse cultures in the global community. This awareness will prepare them to be more empathetic, accepting of differences, aware of social justice and human rights issues, and better prepared for an interconnected world in which they will live and work. Our global network of Jesuit schools offers us an amazing opportunity to collaborate in our shared mission as companions sent to the frontiers in the 21st century. Tonight, we are joined by one of our students who traveled this past summer to Sydney, Australia, as a member of our first global exchange with St. Ignatius College, Riverview. Matt Diaz is a junior from White Plains, whose two older brothers have graduated from the Prep. Raphael, currently a junior at SUNY Binghamton, and Isaiah, a freshman at Loyola University, Maryland. His mom, Lauren, is corresponding secretary of our Fordham Prep Mothers Club. Coincidentally, this week, the Prep is hosting 13 exchange students from St. Ignatius in Australia. And tonight they are all enjoying a game at Yankee Stadium against the Orioles. So Matt wanted to share his Australian experiences with us so much that he's actually missing the first few innings of the game to be with us. Let us all warmly welcome our student speaker, Matthew Diaz.
Thank you, Dr. Petriello, and good evening, everyone. Thanks to the generosity of all of the people in this room, I had a wonderful experience this past summer, and I would like to tell you a little bit about it tonight. Global perspective is a phrase you hear a lot about in school, and it is something I came to understand more fully when I traveled as a member of the PrEP's Global Exchange Program to Australia. When school ended in June, I was excited, not because our long and treacherously difficult sophomore year was over, but because 5 days later, I would begin my 9,929-mile journey to Australia. When the morning of June 9th finally arrived, I scrambled to finish last-minute packing before I began the trip of my lifetime so far. As we flew over the Pacific and got closer to Sydney, I became more and more nervous. I was just beginning to comprehend the fact that I was going to be apart from my parents for 2 weeks and live with people I'd never met before. However, within a couple of hours of landing, I realized that these people, the Jones family, and my host Will, were very much like me and my family. We were both 16, Jesuit educated, and dealing with the same problems that teenagers around the world face. After a week spent in Sydney, attending classes at St. Ignatius College and becoming familiar with the social life and experiences there, I took a trip further inland to Mount Druitt, which is a place you definitely don't see featured in any travel brochures. Many people think Australia is its big cities and deserts, but in between the two are the suburbs plagued with poverty and drug problems like Mount Druitt. The Holy Family Parish in Mount Druitt hosted 8 Australian boys from St. Ignatius College, 2 boys from Boston College High School, and me. Every day we split up into 3 different groups. The first group worked in the shop, a food store with older, cheaply priced food for families that could not afford to shop anywhere else. We would help workers apply price tags and unpack new food from generous local farmers. The second group would help out in the primary school, assisting the teachers as they tried to control the rambunctious K-5 students. As the week went on, I could see their potential through playing games with them and teaching them, and I realized that they were all very, very special. The last group worked with the preschoolers in the Holy Family community, a small group of 4 to 5-year-olds, energetic but not nearly as disruptive as the primary schoolers. Through working with the students, I saw how these kids were disadvantaged, stuck in the cycle of poverty and affected by drug addiction and depression. I was in a country 9,000 miles away from home, but I was working shoulder to shoulder with people who were faced with the same problems that we see every day all around us, right here where we live in New York. As I flew home, I realized that this was much more than just a trip, and certainly not a vacation. After my first day in Australia, I didn't feel like a tourist. I was immersed in the culture and the life of the Australians, and I felt connected to my Australian Jesuit-educated counterparts. I loved how the people were generous and kind, and I loved how calm and cool the Australian lifestyle was compared to our bustling city that never sleeps. Going to Australia changed me. I realized that we were all in the same boat and faced with the same problems, no matter who we are or where we live. And I think that is what global perspective really means, that we all aren't very much different from each other like we think we are. On our trip, we were faced with new experiences, and I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to come here tonight and thank you all in person, and to tell you that my prep classmates are very excited about the opportunities the Global Exchange Program offers us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. Try to stay dry at the Yankee game tonight. Tell the Australians it's not always like this, only at the president's dinner. It's only rains on days like today. Lastly, and certainly not least, it is my pleasure to welcome the president of Fordham Prep, Father Chris Deveron.
Great to see so many friends here this evening and generous benefactors. Thank you for joining us. For some reason, two things have happened since I've been president. Number one, we have not won on Thanksgiving Day. And number two, it rains on the President's Club dinner. So clearly there's some things that need to change, but we'll work on those things. But I know one thing we don't need to work on is all the details that have been so carefully attended to for tonight's dinner. And we really owe Jose Gonzalez, our vice president, and all of our engagement staff just a great sense of gratitude for bringing us together and for their terrific work in doing so. Thanks also to all of you. You know, if you at your place cards, you will see the list of benefactors, and although you might need a magnifying glass because the print is so small, and what that tells us is that the hearts are large, and people have really been extraordinarily generous to Fordham Prep. So especially thanks to those who for 10, 20 years through their generosity have been invited into the President's Club and who are part of this dinner. Thank you. And how could we have, even on a night like tonight, how could we have a better setting for a meal that brings us together, a meal in which we thank God for gratitude and generosity. And that we owe to Buzzy O'Keefe, class of 56, who's here with us, who runs this place and always welcomes us, and then always donates back to the Fordham Prep the costs that are associated with this dinner. So, Buzzy, we have given that it's our 175th year, we've never given you a gift, but we feel like this is the year we should give you something. So we're grateful to you. Thank you. It's here somewhere. They hide it on me. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Well, it's nice to have everybody here, and I think it's gone out throughout the world that there's nothing like a Jesuit education, and Fordham Prep is just the epitome of what I think it's all about. And it's been great for me, and it's been great for all the fellows who went to school with me, and I can see it's continuing to be even better and better. Anyway, it's great to have you all here, and thank you for
You know, in 2012, as many in this room know, Fordham Prep closed the most successful campaign in its history, thanks to Father Bowler, who's here this evening, the Legacy Campaign. Since that time, since that campaign closed, we have been the beneficiary of tremendous generosity, which has advanced our mission in so many ways. And I'd like to share with you just a few of the ways in which many in this room have been generous to Fordham Prep. In fact, you've been so generous that since the Legacy campaign, Fordham Prep has received $25 million in commitments. So thank you for that. Within that $25 million, I want to tell you about a few of the highlights. First of all, Kim and Bill Anderson. Kim is here with me at my table this evening. Most recent gift of extraordinary generosity, $500,000 to endow the Prep's newly launched squash program and to create an endowed scholarship. Thank you. You're going to be clapping a lot tonight because there's tremendous report of generosity. $750,000 for an endowment to support young men who are from the Bronx who need financial aid. John Freeman, thank you. Many of you who are here in this room are invited because of your generosity to the Bastianich dinners and that scholarship which has garnered $1 million of support in just 3 years to support families of modest means with tuition assistance. Thank you so much for your generosity to that wonderful event. Thank you. Kathy and John McCarthy. John is a trustee of the Levy Foundation, and the Levy Foundation supports us with a new $1 million endowed scholarship to support students from Westchester County in need of tuition assistance and to build our new beautiful lobby and to renovate the Commons. John and Kathy, thank you so much. Arguably, this all got started because a group from the class of 1987 got together and they did something that had never been done in prep history. They banded together to create a scholarship that now is worth $1.5 million because it also includes classes around it. 87, 88, and 89 banded together to honor their fallen classmate with the Pat Joyce Endowed Scholarship. Thank you to all the donors to the Joyce Scholarship who are here this evening. So you put all those things together, and it's incredible generosity. And this emboldened us to launch what is going to be an even more extraordinary campaign for Fordham Prep in honor of our 175th anniversary. Even more. You like how I paused there? So we're still, we're still in the what they call the silent phase of this campaign, but we're all in the tent right now because all of you are here because you've been generous. So I want to tell you, what's happening. I want to give you just a quick progress report of the 175th campaign. First of all, I'm thrilled to share with you that in the last 2 years, the Prep has received more seven-figure gift commitments than at any time in Fordham Prep history. These include 3 of the largest commitments the Prep has ever seen, $2 million to support endowment, $3 million to support campus improvements and athletics and current use scholarships. And then what we're really here to recognize and honor this evening is a most extraordinary gift, a commitment of $6 million, the largest in Prep history, to support the Prep's endowment, campus improvements, and strategic initiatives. And we're blessed that the generous donors are here with us this evening. And I just want to thank Diane and Jim Rowan for your extraordinary generosity. For the Prep. Listen, the 175th is an extraordinary opportunity for all of us to recall the Prep's rich history and its values. Values which have been handed down to us 8 generations. Think about it, 1 generation to another. All of us in this room, we know these values well. Cura personalis, becoming a man for others, thinking critically, a faith which does justice, and the quest for excellence. You heard those values reflected in Matt Diaz, who talked to you about his trip to Australia and what that meant to him and what that meant to his family. The 175th anniversary invites us to keep faith with this unwavering commitment to excellence. Excellence in the classroom, on athletic fields and the performing stage, excellence in service to our community, excellence through a well-rounded and diverse student population, learning in state-of-the-art facilities, and taught by an outstanding faculty. With your continued generosity, the anniversary campaign allows the Prep to now consider a series of strategic priorities which further our quest for excellence. So I'd like to share with you these priorities. Number one, you heard it reflected in Matt's comments, global education. We have one school, but as you heard Father Mario Powell pray, he prayed for a universal society, a global society, which is meeting in Rome to consider the priorities of the Society of Jesus worldwide and to elect a new superior general. We are part of that, even though we're just gathered in this little corner of the world. Certainly what Father McShane always reminds us is the capital of the world. But the Prep is poised now through digital technology and through the ability to travel. We are poised to leverage the Jesuit network of thousands of secondary schools around the globe. This will help prepare our young men to develop skills of cultural global competency. Working in partnership with the Hyde Center at BC High this year, Fordham Prep is planning exchanges with Jesuit schools in Australia, Africa, Europe, and South America. Some of the young men at Fordham Prep can certainly, if their families can afford these trips, but that's not the case for every young man. Your generosity will help make these trips truly accessible for all students, and they'll also help create exchanges for our teachers, so our teachers can experience faculties in other Jesuit schools all throughout the world. The second strategic priority, diversity and inclusion. Father Powell gave the prayer tonight. He is the director of the REACH program, Recruiting Excellence for Academics in Catholic High Schools. It is a citywide Jesuit program that recruits students from lower income backgrounds. REACH's outcomes were recently touted in the Wall Street Journal. We are joining forces with, yes, Xavier and Regis High School, believe it or not. We're not going to join forces with them on Thanksgiving Day. That's another story. But we are joining forces with them because we have a Jesuit brand in this city. And we ought to be leveraging that brand to make sure that our schools truly reflect the population of this city, and we're going to do that. The third strategic priority, accessibility. You know, the Prep began raising funds on its own only in 1972 when we separated from the university. The endowment, which was a vision and a commitment of Father Joe Parks, my predecessor, who is here in the room this evening, that endowment was created with a $1 million gift. Thanks to his hard work, he's over there in the corner. I think we should applaud him for his efforts. Thanks to Father Parks' hard work and the work of the board and donors at that time, the Prep's endowment now has grown to nearly $35 million today, $10 million coming in the last 3 years. Today, we can strive to build an endowment that will actually fully fund family financial need for tuition assistance of every young man who's qualified to come to Fordham Prep. We can strive for that goal. Lastly, our strategic priority of continuous improvement to our campus and our learning environment. The Prep is the only school in New York City located on a university campus, and the Prep's learning environment offers unparalleled excellence. But I know this is going to be news to some of you who studied in Hughes Hall. We do not study in the new building anymore. The building's over 40 years old, and there are major areas in the interior of our building, especially learning spaces, classrooms in the East Wing, our athletic locker rooms, that are woefully outdated. And yes, we need to build a new chapel, which is on the drawing boards. The magic and the beauty and the transformation of Jesuit education happens because of teacher-student relationships. I know that's why many of you are here today, you alumni and parents, you know how important that relationship is. Our faculty is second to none. Through your continued commitment of support, We will retain them, but we will also provide opportunities for their professional development and their continuous improvement. To achieve these strategic priorities, we are asking you, our most generous donors, to consider even greater generosity to Fordham Prep this year in our anniversary year. We'd like to speak to many of you about how you can take your commitments and grow them so that all of us together in this room can meet these spectacular and extraordinary strategic priorities. So I would like to invite you to consider how you can even grow your commitment even greater. Thank you for attending. Enjoy the rest of your meal and the great company of this wonderful room. God bless.